obviously the game changed in the third quarter. What do you think? Or why do you think you weren't able to adapt to keep up, I guess, with the way the lines shifted their play?
Oh, there was a lot of things that they played well. The conditions got better and they used the ball a bit better. We were obviously in complete control of the game early. A few things went against us towards the end of that second half to give them a little bit of a sniff, and some of their good players got into the game. Again, we sort of had a few issues that I won't sort of talk about that made it a bit harder for us, but in simple terms, the ball was just in their forward half for way too long in the third quarter, and it didn't give us a chance to put their defence under any pressure. And when you have a quarter like that in a sort of energy-sapping game, it sort of makes it a little bit easier for you in the last quarter.
It's such good work by the team, obviously showed that again tonight. Do you think it was a lot dry, wasn't it, after the half-time break? Do you think you didn't change quickly enough to adapt to that? Did it almost take them by surprise that you could play a bit more expansively? Or?
No, I mean, I know from experience, this ground, we should get the engineers who did the drainage at this ground down to Victoria, because it's just an amazing amount of rain the last few weeks, and the ground is perfect. And obviously, the lines, it did suit the way they played in the second half. And I mean, what you're saying is logical, but difficult to do in practice. I didn't think we were playing wet weather footy in the third quarter when it was dry. It's just we weren't able to execute and move the ball as fluently as they did.
Was it simple not getting your hands on it enough in the third quarter? Like, you had a fair bit of ascendancy around the stoppages in the first half, and then it probably tipped the other way a little bit after that break.
Yeah, but if you confine it to the simplicity of just getting your hands on the ball, I think it's closely related to getting the ball forward. Like, I don't know the exact number. I think it was 30% time in forward half in the third quarter, it just means your defence is under too much pressure. So there's the obvious part of them being in a position to score, but it just makes the game harder for you. Then you've got to go and chase it in the last quarter, but you're a bit fatigued because you've been defending in your back half for too long. And then so there are some issues that we will review really hard, and we'll kind of rue the lost opportunity, because we did have control of the game. And again, sort of probably going to say this a lot this year, it is a game of inches, and every opposition you play are pretty good. It doesn't need to be the reigning premier necessarily to remind you how tough the competition is. But again, like even in the immediate aftermath, there are a few things that we should be positive about. I just really thought Oisin Mullen's game was fantastic. Connor O'Sullivan as a young key defender gives us real room for optimism. They don't all need to be, pick one necessarily. We think we've got some young guys who are going to come in and improve us quickly, which we'll need, because if we don't find a way to improve, the competition looks pretty ominous.
It's so early, obviously, but it must be frustrating to have this week and last week games where you probably had enough opportunities at various stages. That must be a frustration to be sitting at 1-2, I guess, when you've had opportunities to be probably a little bit better off.
Yeah, but try to look forward, and there have been so many years, I would say the majority, when we've ended up in a pretty good position where you look back and you think that game's really going to hurt us, and in the end it hasn't mattered. And you can't change it anyway. Like trying to find balance, not be too hard on yourself when, as long as all the requisite effort and preparation, all that sort of stuff's there, the momentum in the game, and I don't mean within the actual 2 hours of the game, just week to week is really important. And if you'll get plenty of opportunities to feel sorry for yourself and let it compound into something that can become a real challenge, but you just got to hang in a little bit. Again, whatever the final margin was, what was it? 9 points. I think we'll come away. I think for big parts of that game we had it under control, and it's very annoying we let it slip. But again, if you have losses early in the year and you think just can't work out what it is we're trying to do, or we're so far off what it is we're trying to execute, we're miles away from that space. We've made a few critical errors in patches of the last two games that have cost us, and that's all it takes.
Can you take us through the the sequence for Tom Stewart the past couple of days? He's selected obviously to lay it out. Like what testing did he go through? Like, yeah, if you can walk us through that.
No, I can't. What I'll tell you is we always take as long as possible. So different to what I understand of some other systems where they want certainty earlier in the week. We take as long as we possibly can to make a good decision. It's a little complicated when you're travelling. You know, it's not ideal putting a guy on the plane and then having him not play. But it is an indication of how close we thought he was. So he did a little bit today and just didn't feel quite right. So yeah, we were always going to err on the side of caution, which meant that if he was a fair way off yesterday when we got on the plane, we just wouldn't have brought him. But we gave him a chance to play, and I'm told that we should be really confident that he'll be right next week.
How do you think Bailey went tonight, Smith?
He's going to really help us. Yeah, he's going to really help us. So second game, obviously a little bit of a niggle. He was close to playing last week, so a little bit of a bump in his preparation. But no, he's going to help change the way that we play. And after missing a year of footy, we're optimistic that he's already made a difference. But he's going to get better from here, I'm sure.
Does that surprise you how quickly he made an impact, particularly tonight in the conditions in that first half? He was everywhere. Has he sort of surpassed what you expected given the last 18 months?
We had pretty high expectations, I think, and he's a different sort of player to some of our other mids in particular. But we knew he was a quality player. But as I said, I have a lot of respect for how hard it is these days to prepare yourself to keep up with the rest of the competition, and it is a challenge when you miss a lot of footy. So maybe that was where we tempered our expectations a little bit. Like, to be frank, he could look a little bit off it for a month or 5 weeks and we'd keep persisting. But he's hit the ground running. And maybe when you get to see him prepare a little bit more closely than you would if he's in another team, it sort of all starts to make a bit of sense.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.